Good evening, all. So, we are back again with our series of CAT-ZAT preparation with our mentor Dhrubajiti sir. CAT 2023 results are out. IIM Lucknow has declared the results last evening. This time, 14 candidates have secured 100 percentile, which is slightly higher than the last year, which is of last year count was probably 11. Now it is time to prepare for the admission process, prepare for the GD and PI. Today's session, we will be focusing on decision making. Decision making is something which is unique with XAT. No other entrance exams has decision making, and decision making encompasses one third of XAT question papers, comprising of approximately 20 to 21 questions. And most importantly, friends, decision making has got nothing to do with your verbal ability, your quantitative ability, the skills. It is a test purely of your moral and ethical stance. So, without wasting any further time, over to Dhrubajati sir to take us through a very interesting topic of decision making in XAT. Oh, sir, please carry on.
Thank you. Hi. So the difference that has happened between the last session and this session is that the temperature in Delhi has fallen uh, by approximately 10 degrees, and you can see my clothing. And the other thing that has happened is obviously the CAT result has come much quicker than expected. So yeah, I think all is good now. Before I actually start with the decision making scenario, just to address one concern that many people have raised in recent times, that cat kharab hua hai, should I do I have any chance to go to that, or lost all motivation and all that stuff. Don't do that. uh, Agar cat kharab hua hai, so that is really a god gifted second chance, and almost all good business schools, in fact many of them, I discussed about it in the last session, actually take that score. So no second thoughts about it, and I can without any hesitation very proudly say that when I wrote cat for myself, that is the only time perhaps I wrote cat for myself in 2005, uh, 2004, really. 2004, when I wrote that for myself, I did not get very good institutes. The highest, the best institute at that time that I could get through CAT was MDI Gurgaon, and I did not get any IM calls, except I think one IMK call, and that also I could not convert or something like that. So actually, that was my lifesaver, and I'm very very happy that I could get through XLRI, and I have absolutely no repentance about that. So therefore, I am a proof that if you miss out on CAT, and you still want to go into a top college in India, then there is no replacement for that. So yeah, please go ahead and give your best shot for that. Today we will be discussing the decision making section of that. As pointed out already, this is a very unique section in Indian entrance exam scenario. No other exam in India actually has this decision making section as a part of the selection process. Uh, this is something which is very very unique in that, and we will discuss about it, that how to deal with that and so on and so forth. Just one very minor correction about what Suchandra said, and just to clarify that it is not exactly true that quant based skills or English based skills are not required. Some questions in decision making can come where you need to do some numerical data crunching, or some questions in uh, decision making can come where you need to have some critical reasoning skills or verbal reasoning skills, maybe a little bit of vocab as well. Having said that, uh, 80% of the questions that come, so let's say if you are getting around 20 questions in decision making, around 16 of them, the main thing is actually, as rightly pointed out, ethics, moral values, your upbringing, your value system, uh, your sense of practicality, your understanding of the world around you, and so on and so forth. So yes, they will obviously play a much greater role than numerical skills or even English skills for the decision making section. uh, let's first of all understand what is it actually. In this section, what you practically get are micro case studies. Okay, I'm using the word micro because most of the case studies, the longest case study that has come in decision making is approximately 10 lines long. And even with that passage, there are actually three questions involved. So the standalone questions that come, generally they come with a passage of not more than 4 or 5 lines. If it is a longish passage, longish situational analysis with long stories, then generally it also has 3 to 4 questions. So therefore, uh, it is basically a micro case study. Now, how is it different from RC? It is definitely not a non-fiction. Okay, what it fundamentally means is we are not really talking about an article or a newspaper article. No, we are talking about a real life situation. We are talking about a situation wherein some persons are involved. You might have to wear the decision making hat. You are the manager who has to take the uh, decision regarding the next course of action. There is a story around it, there are some data, there is some situation that will be created about it. As I said, not necessarily something to do with data and etc. uh, what they want to check, they definitely want to check your analytical skills. How do you read the story? Do you understand the conditions given in the story? What type of conditions has been given? What type of constraints are there in the questions? What type of person uh, is who is dealing with the decision making and etc. As I said, there are some data analysis or arrangements that might be required. uh, Generally I suggest that if there are questions where you typically need to calculate or do something, uh, I generally suggest that those questions should be left out. Okay, for the simplest reason that you don't get more than 1.5 2 minutes per question. So if there are standalone questions which require some calculations and etc., you better leave them out and concentrate on other questions which requires ethics, values, analytical skills, and etc. Remember one thing, that XAT does not have sectional time limits, and it is very easy to fall into that loop of liking this section and keeping on doing it for the next 50 odd minutes or 55 odd minutes, and losing a sense of time, which will result in you giving less time to, let's say, the quant section or the verbal section, and that might mess up with your sectional cutoffs. So be very clear with this, that these 20 questions I don't really give more than 40 to 45 minutes. We actually don't know whether there'll be 20 questions or 30 questions, because one thing about that is that they don't really tell you the paper structure till the day of the exam. Okay, generally over the last 5 years there has been total 50 anything between 60 to 90 questions, with decision making forming approximately one third of the questions. But having said that, don't be surprised or don't be in panic if they change the pattern a little bit here and there. Okay, uh, now one thing about uh, ZAD decision making, and I'll be specifically talking about the last point, ethics and mindsets. Okay, let me put it in very strong words. To clear ZAD decision making, you need to be a 21st century person. You need to be slightly liberal. if I may use the word, that is not a very, how do I say, not really seen as a very great word when it comes to Indian politics right now. But yes, you need to be liberal. uh, you cannot be conservative. You need to be slightly, how do I say, urbanish and modern, educated, uh, proactive, uh, at least modernistic, if I may say so. So therefore, if you, and there is a possibility that you are, if you come from a family where gender equality is not something which is practiced, keep that in mind, that it might form a dangerous point of view if you give a uh, viewpoint which is anti anti any specific gender or something like that. Okay, so let's say, for example, if you come from a family where it is in village, and your grandparents or people from the older generation still think that, females are good to be at home, and females are good to be only cooking and bearing children, you cannot be that. Okay, so very very clearly, unless and until you come with modern mindsets, you don't you if you come carrying a baggage of a lot of other mindsets which were slightly traditional, slightly old, then it might play a very dangerous role in decision making. That is a very, very modern exam. That is a very, very futuristic exam. So therefore, um, be very careful. If you have faced such ideas in your upbringing, and if you carry such ideas in your upbringing, then you need to be very careful, because some of the options might look very, very close, because that is exactly what they want to check. Okay, so uh, all I'm fundamentally saying, and India lives in villages, so that's okay. I mean, don't be ashamed about it. All I am fundamentally saying is that if your upbringing and if your value system had such slightly non-modernistic viewpoints, and you have been exposed to such non-modernistic viewpoints, be very careful while solving these questions, because they want the modernistic viewpoint. Be very clear on that. Okay, uh, plain simple situational analysis, we will take some examples to see what type of questions come. Mix of tangible data facts and intangible ethics, value system, composite culture, proactive culture, and so on and so forth. Okay, now therefore, how do I go ahead with the story? What do I need to prioritize? How do I do decision making? Let's talk about the list of priorities that you need to have uh, while dealing with these questions. How do I deal with these questions in terms of, you know what to prioritize? If I had to prioritize between five things, what to prioritize? Now, one thing that you need to be very clear about decision making of that, be very careful here. None of the options are wrong. Okay, this is not sentence correction. This is not quant, that three of the options will be wrong, or two of the options will be very clearly wrong. Okay, all the options are right. Okay, it could have been any one of the four or the five options that has been given to you. Okay, think it this way. uh, if somebody is from Delhi or from Kolkata or from any urban situation, and if I tell you that, you want to go back, you want to go from point A to point B, okay, which mode of transport will you take? There can be option of bus, there can be option of metro, there can be option of cabs, there can be option of your own private vehicle, there can be option of walking down from A to B. Okay, and all of the options are correct. Okay, it is not true that any two of the options are wrong. Okay, now what makes it right or wrong, or what makes it less priority over more priority, is the extra information or the extra constraint that will be given to you in that passage. For example, if the distance between A to B is only 100 meters, then obviously it does not make any sense to choose a cab or a metro or a bus, because in all possibilities you will go walking, or you will just take your own bike, and just ride and reach in 2 seconds. But if the distance between A and B is, let's say, 30 kilometers, then you'll have to check what are the options available. And based on your constraints of comfort, price and expenditure that you need to have, the priority why you need to go from A to B. Okay. All of these will come into play in deciding. So for example, uh, let's say if I stay in Gurugram, that is slightly outskirts of Delhi. uh, Basically, you cross the border of Delhi and move it to Haryana. So that is like the first thing that you get in Haryana after you cross Delhi. So from Gurugram, if I have to go to Connaught Place, which is central Delhi, okay, there are many options. You can go by cab, you can go by metro, you can actually drive your own car. Okay, so you can deprioritize walking. uh, uh, you can go cycling. Many people from Gurugram actually enjoy cycling in the morning from Gurugram to Connaught Place, touching base with India Gate and coming back. So all of them are correct options. Now the question is, why am I going from Gurgaon to Connaught Place? If it is about health consciousness, then maybe cycle is a good option. Okay, so many people, as I said, and the number is not less at all. I mean, just to share with you, at least 200 odd people every Sunday go from Gurugram to Connaught Place riding a bicycle, because they enjoy cycling and they are health conscious. But for me, it's a lazy Sunday and I want to go shopping, and I don't want to stay in Gurugram. I want to go to Connaught Place to go do shopping. Now there I will not go by a cycle because I'll get tired. So on that day, I'll go by cab or a metro. Now if I don't have money, then I'll go by metro. But if I have money to splurge and I can spend 700, 800 rupees on a cab, I will go by cab. Up to me, right? If I want to, if I am going to meet somebody special, in Connaught Place in a romantic situation, then I'll be worried about me not being in a crowded metro or something, so I might like to go by cab. Okay, so fundamentally what I'm trying to say is that in decision making, be very clear on this. None of the options will be wrong. Each one of the options will be correct. We need to prioritize. We will say this is the best option. Okay, and therefore let's look at the list or the chronology of priorities. First thing first, as a human being, value of life is priority number one. It takes number one priority irrespective of ethics and value system. Now what I mean by this is that if there is a situation, and let me give you a hypothetical situation, that somebody's life is at stake. They need a specific type of blood from the blood bank. The blood is of a rare blood group. You went to the blood bank, and the blood bank guy is asking for a bribe. Okay, and you see no other option available. It's an emergency, the blood is needed right now, but he's asking for a bribe. Now giving bribe is unethical, unlawful. Okay, what do I choose? Do I choose value of life? Do I save that person by taking the blood and giving a bribe, or do I stick to my value system and not give bribe? Okay, here, in such a situation where you have to opt one of the two, then very clearly value of life becomes first priority. Okay, so if you have to save somebody's life, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. And trust me, when it comes to that, you don't have even have a choice of a of a convict or something. unless he has been sentenced to death by a court of law. You cannot kill somebody, you cannot play a role uh, in somebody's death. If at all you have to play a role, that role has to be that you save that person's life, irrespective of the background of that person. You have no authority to let somebody die. That's very clearly the issue. So value of life becomes your first priority. There has been 2 3 questions that has come in that where value of life was challenged against something else. Okay, but yes, I mean very clearly value of life. Now, having said that, uh, always remember and have a look out for that. Most of the time, though I am also saying that there were some questions where value of life had to be chosen, but always also remember that if you had to choose between 2 things, I mean, one is life, the other is not to give bribe. Both of them are correct. None of them are wrong. I have to save a life. I have to save the life of a person, and I don't want to give bribe as well. Okay, both of them are correct. And if I have to choose between them, then it becomes priority as value of life. However, there might be an option where there is a middle path. Okay, and the middle path does not mean a compromise. The middle path can be the best option, because what I am fundamentally saying is that time I give the bribe, but I also record the situation in my pocket camera or mobile camera or something. And once I have done, I'm done with the duty of saving the life of that person, I will go to that person's supervisor and show him the video and show him that he had taken bribe in such a situation. This should be taken care of, and that person should be removed from the job or should be given the correct punishment, so that nobody's life is at stake because of such a corrupt person. So therefore, if you find a middle path which takes care of both the good things, where you don't have to choose, where you can live with both, then you should always choose the middle path. Okay, another example I'll give you. uh, I think it was 2019 or 2020 where they gave a situation regarding that a new government had come in the center, and the new government declared that uh, in a country like India where 33% of the people are below poverty line, and people are dying of hunger, and lack of medicine and basic amenities and etc., we should immediately stop space research and deviate that money to create employment for the poor and create amenities for the poor, so that first of all poverty in India goes away. And then once poverty in India goes away by 2040, we can come back and do space research. As of now, space research is not important for us. The finance minister in his budget said that the space research is not important for us. We'll come back to space research once we become a developed country in 2040, and the government is fully trying to make that happen. Now, you are the opposition leader. You have to give a viewpoint. What will be the point that you are going to say, so that you can give the best possible solution to the government. That was the question. Now, space research is not bad. Eradication of poverty is not bad. Okay, if you had to choose one of the two, if you are forced to choose one of the two, then maybe yes, eradication of poverty would have been the correct option. But if there was an option with which I can use space research to eradicate poverty, then that is what is the middle path. For example, if I use the satellites to understand the weather, if I use the satellite to predict monsoon, if I use the satellites to predict I mean, which time will there be a cyclone and etc., so that fishermen should not go into the sea and so on and so forth. Then I'm just giving very basic examples. I'm sure you know that satellites can do much more than that. uh, that is the best way. So therefore, if space research and eradication of poverty can be married, okay, and we find out a middle path, then that becomes the best option to choose in decision making. Okay, so therefore, whenever you're talking about all these priorities, just make sure that you don't go with just choosing one option. If you find a middle path, then the middle path becomes your priority number one. Okay, so therefore, the solution is always one of the best options. In corporate life, in business case scenarios, capital or base protection becomes my priority over profit. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's again understand. If there was a situation wherein, uh, let's take the case of, let's say, a very high end mobile phone company. Let's say there is a very high end mobile phone company, and they are known to produce the best mobile phones in the world. The only thing in this story is that their mobile phones are at least 100% more costly than the nearest competitor. Okay, so their phones, the basic phone starts from, let's say, 95,000, and they go till 2 lakh rupees, and we are talking about the regular mobile phones. Now, if you compare it with their competitors, the best phones come in the range of 45,000, 50,000 rupees. Whereas those, the premium phone that I'm talking about is costing around 95,000, 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh rupees, and so on and so forth. They are known for that. They are seen as a status symbol. They are for the rich and the famous. They make phones which only a specific income group people can afford to buy. If they have got saturated in the market, if they are saying that, uh, you know there is this very limited number of rich people who are now buying those phones, we have not seen an expansion in the business, because number of rich people in the world is not increasing at the rate of 50% or 100%. It is increasing at the rate of 1% or 2%, and mobile phone is not something which you buy every year. Then, should they introduce uh, a cheaper version of the phone, uh, for the middle class or the lower middle class or something like that? Now, there, while you understand that the profit might increase, the revenue might increase, and this and that and etc., the company will surely face a brunt from their existing customers, from their existing base. And therefore, again, what you need to keep in mind is that the priority is that whatever needs to be done keeping in mind that whatever capital they have, whatever base they have as an existing business, that should not go away while doing something new for business. Okay, capital or base protection becomes a priority over profit. So they cannot do anything which antagonizes their current customer base. We have to find out a way in which they remain, and we also find a new business. So what we'll need to do for that, we will decide based on the options that are there. Okay, it is something like stock market. I mean, those who deal with stock market will know that people like Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, or the biggest stock market, even Warren Buffett, uh, all of them have always said that when you deal with stock market, you first play in a manner that whatever money you are investing, that does not erode. And if you protect your capital, then very clearly you will also make profit. Okay, never make losses. They always said that never make losses. If it is going towards losses, just make sure that you don't keep on adding more money and money. If you want to exit, you can remain exited for some time, but you don't make full losses. Okay, you have to protect your base, you have to protect your capital, and protecting the capital, if you can still make profit, fantastic. That was the basic, that is the basic concept when you, when it comes to, dealing with uh, cases in terms of a business or a business management or something like that. Okay, we have already talked about it. Unethical, unlawful behavior is never the first choice. Okay, so obviously, we try to avoid anything which looks unethical and unlawful. That is something. So if there are options which gives unethical or unlawful behavior, they, and they will not be wrong, trust me. I give you an example of not bribing versus saving somebody else's life. So that is never the first choice. If such options are there and that is a standalone option, there is a high chance that you'll have to, find out a middle path that will help you to solve the questions. Fairness, equality. Okay, it is very very important that whatever decision you take is fair for all the stakeholders involved in the decision making process. Now what do I mean by that is, let's say we are talking about a scenario wherein there is a company, and there is a company, that any IT company or any company with international clients, they will have day shift and night shift, right? They will have day shift and they will have night shift. Okay, so I'm just taking as an example. Okay, now you started something for the day shift. Let's say you started giving lunch for the day shift. Okay, and now why you did started lunch for the day shift? Because the chief HR officer comes in the day shift and he wanted to spend time with the employees, wanted to become accessible with the employees. So therefore, since he comes in the day shift, he started this concept of group lunch once in a month, so that he can meet the people and so on and so forth. Now that is very unfair for the night shift people if you do not start something similar, because both of them are equal employees. Okay, so if the day shift employees get a chance to directly interact with the CHRO in whatever ritual they have started, there has to be a similar ritual or a similar scope even for the night shift employees. Now how you do that, whether you do it through a video calling because the CHRO might not be able to come at night, or you alternate saying that in even months it is day shift ka lunch, in the odd months it is night shift ka lunch, that is up to you. But everybody who is a stakeholder in that decision making needs to get a fair deal. Now it can be about gender, it can be about day shift versus night shift, it can be about customer versus seller. Okay, whoever it is, but the fairness is a part of the plan. Okay, if there is no fairness in the decision making, then it is not a correct decision. Okay, so this is very very important, that you need to keep a check whenever you are talking about that this is the best decision making. Okay, last but not the least, now this is extremely important, because not only it has come in exam many a times, but also it is important for your life. uh, so we know that in India, uh, there is a very bad trend that whenever people want to protest against a government or against an administration, they go and burn and destroy public property. Extremely, I mean, very very bad habit of people, spurned by lack of knowledge and spurned by a lot of uh, instigation by antisocial elements. But yes, people go and burn buses, people vandalize public property, and so on and so forth. People do that. Now tell me one thing and think over it, and I'm not really pointing out at anybody. Let's say a common man, an illiterate man, instigated by some political party or some antisocial element, went ahead and destroyed a public property. Okay. And he was caught by police while doing that. Okay. So पकड़ा गया वो, ठीक है, and it came into news that this guy was vandalizing a public property. The police caught him in the act. He has been arrested. ठीक है. Should the chief minister or the administration go and vandalize his private property? So should the chief minister say, क्योंकि वो पकड़ा गया है vandalizing a public property, तो उसका tit for tat होनी चाहिए. So therefore what we should do is that from the government we should go and break his house. That is not right, correct, isn't it? Because that is not what government can do. Government has to follow what has been mandated by law, right? Government has a different role to play. Okay, government cannot do what an illiterate common man does with lack of awareness. Okay, government can arrest that person, government can take him to police, government can take him to court, government can put him in jail, but government cannot be going ahead and breaking his private property, lawful private property. Okay, that is not what government can do. Similarly, for those who are working in some organization or something will know, let's say you have got a very less appraisal, or you have got an appraisal lesser than what you thought you deserve, and your colleague has got more appraisal than you, whereas you thought that you worked much more. So you go and you shout on your manager uh, for 15 minutes, saying that, boss, this is unfair, not done, ऐसे नहीं होता है, मैंने इतना काम किया है, इतना कुछ किया है, and this and that, and now I deserve this. That you do, isn't it? You go and this to your boss. Should your boss say, oh, this is unfair, you cannot talk to me like that, I'm your authority, I'm your boss, you should be fired, you have no idea how I have taken a decision, you are an idiot? That he cannot do, right? That the reason why he is boss is because he has a cooler head than you have, that he has leadership skills that you lacked, that he has people management skills which you lacked. So fundamentally, a boss's way of approaching the similar problem has to be different from how a non-leadership role will approach to the problem. They can be different. If they're same, fantastic. If they're not same, then higher the authority, higher the power, higher is the sense of responsibility. Okay, please remember, authority comes with the management of power. So if you don't do that, the more, the bigger you are, the bigger is the need to balance out the power and the responsibility part. If you don't merge them together, then you cannot grow in an organization. Leadership role is all about balancing out power, authority, and responsibility. Okay, so it is very, very important that whenever you are getting into that question, think from the role of that decision maker. Don't think about what you would have done. Think from the perspective of the decision maker. Think about perspective from the CEO. Think about the perspective from the manager, and then decide what will be the correct way to solve this question. Okay. So now let's look at. I'll leave you with this set for approximately 30 seconds to 1 minute. Go through it. Those who are participating, if you can leave me some uh, options as to which one you think is correct, and then I will show you how to approach these questions. Quickly, quickly. Does not require more than that. 30 to 40 seconds, and we should be able to solve. Anyone wants to answer? We discussed such a similar case here. Give your comments. I hope it is visible on YouTube. So anyone wants to take a leap at the answer or guess? Some people are saying C. So perfect. That's the thought process that I wanted to do. Now, how do I actually approach these questions is what is more important. So C is the correct answer. Yes, absolutely. Let's just remember our priority list. Okay. What we had discussed was whenever we are talking about such decisions that we need to keep in mind that जो हमारा करंट कस्टमर बेस है उनके उसको हमें लूज नहीं करना है. ठीक है, we cannot lose them. We'll have to keep in mind that they cannot go away from us. Now, if I sell the same product at a lower price to middle and poor class, then the premiumness of the product is lost, so they will go away. Okay, so therefore that is definitely not going to be the answer. Similarly, if I am targeting the middle class and forget about the rich, again exactly the same problem, that we are alienating our current customer base, and they therefore they cannot be our priority in terms of our business expansion plan. Okay, now this will mean stagnation. Okay, because we already are talking about that we have to maximize long term profits, we have to expand our business, and we are already saying that still the sales has been stagnating in the reach segment. Okay, so we have to expand our business, and option D is not about expanding the business. So therefore that is how you eliminate A, D and D. Okay, now let's come to B and C. Okay, after you have eliminated, now this is exactly how it will happen even in on the Z day, that you will be able to eliminate at least two three options saying that ठीक है जो हमारे priority list था उससे ये तो नहीं होगा. B and C. Okay, now why not B and why C is because if you are talking about a similar product of a different quality standards with a different brand name to middle class and poor class, what you are fundamentally doing, why will people like to buy that brand? People will like to buy that brand because they expect that brand. What is a brand? A brand is something with which you attach a trust and a faith, and you expect a certain amount of quality. So therefore, when you are doing that with a different brand name and a known function that it is of a different quality standard, then the moment you do that, you will not be able to expand it to the middle class. Okay, if you remember the Ratan Tata story, Ratan Tata did one big blunder on the day of launching of Nano, which he has continuously said throughout his life. Instead of saying it is the most affordable car, he had said it is the cheapest car in the market, and that killed Nano's image. Nobody wants the cheapest car. They would have wanted the most affordable car, but they did not want the cheapest car. The word cheap attached to Nano killed the business. People who wanted to buy Nano did not buy Nano because they thought it was a cheap car and they will look cheap. Okay, and that is exactly why B is not the answer. Sell it under a different brand name. Okay, you don't have to really say whether it is of different quality or of the same quality or something like that. If it is a different brand name, and a lot of companies do that, and you never know whether it is of low quality or high quality. Okay, sell it under a different brand name, give it to the middle class or the poor class, run it like that, ensuring that the company's name is known, and you should be able to sell more and you should be able to expand. Now what that ensures is that the premium branding has a premium customer, the different brand name has a different set of customers, whether the quality is right or wrong or lower or higher, let the customer decide it. Okay, until the customer does not see any difference or the customer does not get to know the difference, it is perfectly fine, the expansion can happen. The premium branding people are happy, the middle class and the poor class people are also happy. That is how you reach to a final solution when it comes to decision making. Okay, just throwing out one more quickly. These are all previous year XAT questions, so I just picked up some previous year XAT questions so that you can play with it quickly. Let's give ourselves approximately 2 minutes. Anybody wants to try? Want to try? Okay, let's start discussing this and let's again see how we can shortlist the answer. Okay, so anybody will be seeing the recording of this or seeing it later will have to pause the video for a moment, think over it, read it, and then get the answer. Let's see. Please understand that she is a female entrepreneur and she wanted to start a company with equal proportion of males and females. That is one of the founding principles of which she started the business, which is perfectly fine. Okay, does it mean that she has to give s- similar type of job to both the male and the female? No, right? There is absolutely no requirement of that. uh, she can actually give different type of job to different type of people. The requirement was to have equal number of male and female. The requirement was not to give same work to male and female. Okay, in fact, the requirement is just to keep equal number of male and female, and irrespective of gender, you can give work which suits that person. Okay, so whether it is male or whether it is female, for example, if a female is okay to travel, let her travel. If a male does not want to travel and is not effective in traveling, we can give another work. So the basic concept was that I need to have equal number of male and female. Okay, the female workers were mostly not willing to travel across cities and work late hours. Male employees did not hesitate undertaking such work. That is the key thing. The male employees did not hesitate. If some of the male employees hesitated, then there is no harm in telling that male employee that boss कोई problem नहीं है आपको कोई desk job देते हैं. If there is some job which is available, if there is no job available, that's a different discussion altogether. But if there are jobs available which can suit to that person's capability, to that person's potential, then there is absolutely no problem in doing so. Okay, now therefore, if unwilling female employees can be given assignments which do not require travel, and involve less overtime, we should be able to do that. Requirement or reducing the number of female is not a business requirement. It has not been established in the story. They nowhere said that traveling is the only job in that company. Okay, so therefore B is not an option for the simplest reason that it has not been established in the story. Okay, the status quo, not good for our business. Male employees challenging her own principles. This is obviously an extreme option. So therefore now definitely A becomes my answer as the best answer. Though what you need to understand is none of the options are wrong. Okay, and why it is fair. This is the most important part. Here it is fair for the simplest reason, this is the line. If there was even one scope in the story which said that the males are hesitating to undertake such a work and they are saying आप females को तो ऐसे काम देते नहीं हो हमें जबरदस्ती भेजते हो, then the story would have been completely different. Okay, here it is very clearly saying that the males are not hesitating to do such a work and the females are hesitating. If we can get jobs suitable to these genders, then we should be able to do. If however there is a scope of the male members also saying that we hesitate to do the job, and then he also can be given a desk work which the females are doing right now, or there can be an incentivizing of the story. So for example, those who are traveling, if I'm giving them an extra travel allowance, saying that if you know if you travel more you get more, even if it is just to incentivize the work or making the people more happy, accepting the fact that it is a troublesome work, that will also work. Okay. So fundamentally, what I'm trying to say is that you will have to be fair. It is not about male and female here. If the males were hesitating, if that scope was there in the question, you have to take them into account. Here, the key word was the males were not hesitating to undertake the work, and that is why if the females are hesitating, and that is not about female employees actually, if any employee was hesitating to take up such a work, and we could have given them assignments which do not require travel and involve less overtime, they should be given that work. So that is exactly how you approach the questions, and you will be automatically seeing that of the five options, around two or three of them automatically goes away, and you automatically come out and say that ये तो बहुत extreme है, ये तो होना ही नहीं चाहिए, ऐसे तो होगा ही नहीं. ठीक है. Now the basic assumption is आपको जो समझना है कि यहाँ पे वही गलती दो तीन लोग करते हैं कि इसको ये समझ लेते हैं कि यही नौकरी है इस कंपनी में और कोई नौकरी नहीं है. That is dangerous. So that you should not do. Okay, so therefore last words, uh, this is a very addictive section. Okay, because generally जेड के क्वांट थोड़ा सा देखने में थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट लगता है, इंग्लिश भी थोड़ा सा देखने में डिफिकल्ट लगता है. दिस इज हाउवर स्टोरी रीडिंग एंड रिएक्टिंग टू ए स्टोरी, सो थोड़ा सा एडिक्टिव है. एंड देयरफॉर क्या होता है, आप पूरा कहानी पढ़ते हो और फिर आप तीन ऑप्शन इलिमिनेट कर देते हो, दो ऑप्शन रह जाता है, आप डिसाइड नहीं कर पा रहे हो, लेकिन आप मार्क कर देते हो, बोलते हैं ऐसे छोड़ेंगे, इतना 3 मिनट लगा दिया. Not really a good idea. Don't mark if you are not sure, because there is obviously negative marking. Generally what we have seen is that this section, people tend to attempt all the questions and then 50% of them are wrong. It is dangerous. Okay, you have to be very very controlled in such a manner. It looks like that 50 to 60% attempt is a good attempt if you are able to actually go over and think. So therefore if you are saying 20 questions are there and you are able to attempt approximately 10 to 12 questions correctly, okay, if you are not sure about correction, then maybe 13 to 14. Okay, if you are able to do 50 to 60% of the attempt, that is looking like a good attempt. Okay, and as I said, prioritize situational analysis over number crunching. The number crunching questions will take a lot of time, and therefore good for DI, good for quant, but really not good for decision making part. Okay, uh, generally uh, 40 minutes, 40 to 45 minutes for this section is good. And interestingly enough, is also the highest scoring section of XAT. Okay, if you look at the cutoffs for XAT, decision making section has been traditionally the highest scoring section in XAT, and people have been able to score approximately 13 to 14 questions easily. Uh, the cutoff remains to be somewhere around 10 to 12 questions. Okay, so that's it. I think we are not meeting before XAT, so therefore, uh, good luck for XAT, and a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year for everybody. I think the results are out, and next time when we meet, we will be actually talking about the GDPI stage. So over to you, Suchandra.
Right. So thank you, Drupajiti sir. It was again an engaging session, as you have shared many times in this session. So there is no wrong answer into it. So this is the catch, and you can only be an expert in decision making, solving decision making is by taking mock test. So join our Campus Sutra portal. We have various mock tests for that. There are test sets for decision making too, and by now you all have your CAT scorecards also, and visit the mbaapplications.in pages where you have all the B schools. They are very soon going to come up with their, including the IAMs are going to come up with their cutoffs. So you can do your wish listing, apply those to those colleges of your choices. XAT is on 7th of January. The admit cards, the hall tickets will be available for downloading from the official websites from 27th of December. Uh, Keep taking mocks. Those are free tests. And thank you once again, sir, for those vital tips. And wishing you all the best for the upcoming XAT. Good night.